Open it, stuttered my mother nervously. Yes, open it, said Dad, frightened. Cool it, cat, I breezed. This was the 70s. In my hand was a golden envelope containing the most important pieces of paper I'd ever clutched. My A-level results. What does it say? My parents whispered in absolute unison. I opened it as gingerly as a rookie bomb disposal operative would open a fat letter bomb in a creche. In a funny sort of way, the contents were just as explosive as powder-coated acetone peroxide. They spelt the difference between me attending tertiary education and being consigned to a heap marked "Don't have A-levels." And that was a mound of slag I did not want to be on. Like the bomb disposal man mentioned above, I swallowed hard and began to remove the letter within the lope. A single bead of sweat sprinted down my face, skirting around my temple and pausing at the jaw before throwing itself to its death. Bad news, I muttered. Your son has failed. At failing his exams! They were confused momentarily by the clever double negative, so I added, I passed! The "it's bad news, ha, no, actually it's good news" technique is one I've always enjoyed. It was really mastered by David Coleman in A Question of Sport when he'd tonally suggest Bill Beaumont had got an answer wrong, only to reveal at the end of the sentence that he'd got it right. My parents were elated. My mum patted me and Dad joined in one of the first high fives that Norwich has ever seen. I passed, I kept saying. I passed them both. The exact grading isn't important. Suffice to say, I was the proud owner of 2 shiny A-levels and nobody could take them away from me.
Would you say you've come to books quite late in your life, Alan?
No, that's wrong. I've been reading avidly since the age of a half. Of course, they were very rudimentary books. Some didn't even contain words. They were merely squeaked when you squeezed them, but they were certainly books nonetheless. In those books, my task might have been to identify and reproduce the sound emitted by farmyard or domestic animals, e.g. Cat, which would be...
Meow.
Yeah, but higher.
Meow.
Yeah, great.
Time for another extract from I Partridge. It's 1974 and Alan is about to begin studying for a degree.
Yep, 1974 was a crazy, hazy time for Alan Partridge. The 60s had come to East Anglia and it was a time of free thinking, free love and, in my case, free university accommodation. I was quite the man about town in Norwich, striding confidently through the dreaming spires and hallowed halls of East Anglia Polytechnic. Enigmatically, I decided to stay not in the woodworm-infested squalor of university halls, but to commute in from my home, my parents' home. Of course, it meant that I was something of a mystery man on campus, while my fellow students lived in each other's pockets and played out their debauched lifestyles for all to see. I was far less well known. I'd be glimpsed at the back of lecture halls, ghosting through the student union with a glass of cider, or shushing idiots in the library. And then I'd be gone. All this added to my aura, as did my idiosyncratic dress sense. Thick knit zip-up cardigans, flared brown corduroys and shiny black pepper-pot brogues set me apart from the long-haired layabouts who bore an uncanny resemblance to the Guildford Four and some of the Birmingham Six. Irish long-haired layabouts wrongfully convicted of bombing England. It was a sexy time, and I enjoyed erotic and informative afternoons with a student whose essays I was writing. I'm happy to recall those eye-opening afternoons with me and Jemima sitting bollock naked on her bed, me exploring her body with my quivering hands, while she coquettishly feigned indifference by reading album sleeves or smoking. Young I may have been, but I was confident enough to speak my mind. This strutting young, cock-certain Alan would often dish out compliments as he perused and felt her body. "You're a really busty woman, Jen," I said once. "One of the bustiest on campus." "Thanks," she said through her cigarette. "You've got quite a long torso, but your legs aren't in the least bit thick. Believe me, if I didn't have lectures, I'd love to kiss you from top to bottom and from side to side, also diagonally." Things like that.
Alan, let's turn back to literature now. Do you fear the dumbing down of books?
Not really. If I see a young woman sitting on a grassy knoll, or on a park bench, reading Shopaholic Ties the Knot, I don't think that's a terrible book or a shit book. Right. I'm just pleased that she's reading. The good thing about that book, of course, is that the title fully explains the plot so that if you don't want to, you don't have to read it.
I see.
So you could save a lot of time if, for example, the Da Vinci Code was called Church Puzzle Collection.
True.
Or if they, renamed Tom Clancy books, I don't know, Harrison Ford thinks the government are on his side, but actually they're not.
Literary shorthand, if you will.
Yeah.
Of course, Dickens was wonderful at that.
Oh, Dickens.
Wonderful. Of course, he'd communicate complex characters by giving them such evocative names.
Yes, yeah.
One thinks of Pip, Smike, Mrs. Cruncher.
Yeah, Mr. Tickle.
Now, Alan, this isn't your first book. You've previously published another book, Bouncing Back, which was pulped?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, you'll know about that.
No, well, my book, Boy of Hope, was withdrawn, actually.
Right.
So. But does it bother you that Bouncing Back is no longer with us?
No, I don't really think it's gone. It's like biscuits, If you pop a packet of biscuits, you haven't lost some biscuits. You've gained, the base of a cheesecake.
Right.
Besides, Bouncing Back was going on to a very exciting new life as recycled paper. And one particularly unkind reviewer...
We've all had them.
We've all had them, so I know you have. Yeah. But he said he wouldn't wipe his arse with it.
Oh, right.
His words, not mine. Well, if he buys his toilet roll at Tesco, he may well have done.
So it doesn't bother you at all?
No.
Clearly. Right. OK, well, let's have a question from the audience. The gentleman in the yellow jumper.
Primrose yellow.
Primrose yellow, indeed.
I want to know what you think of the book, and if you were a critic, how would you rate it?
That is a very good question. Alan, are you going to answer that?
Ooh, a tricky one.
Yeah.
Probably say I Partridge left me astonished, elated and humbled. His is a faultless piece of work, one which hunts down and dismembers the real book before brilliantly reinventing the autobiography genre for the Skype generation. Candid and touching, wry yet powerful, I Partridge is truly a book for our times, and around a tenner for 87,000 words. Partridge is no slouch in the value for money department either. 5 stars out of 5, something like that. Are you a twin?
Yes.
Right, with that man.
Yeah.
Why aren't you sitting with him?
We came separately.
Okay. Just quite distracting, it's sort of far apart. That's all.
If your parents were still around, Alan, what would they make of the book?
Well, books were always very important to my mother as a child. She used to read me bedtime stories. I mean, when I was a child, not her.
Sure.
I wasn't born. No, she would read to me for about half an hour every night before hitting the stopwatch.
That must have been really wonderful for you, very soothing.
Well, she tried her best, but she struggled with the characters' voices. I don't know why. I don't think it was because she was thick.
What did she used to read to you, for example?
Well, I remember a half-hearted attempt at Paddington Bear, which she made sound German. The same with Rupert the Bear. She basically Germanised any bear, which ruined it for me. But on the flip side, she did an outstanding noddy.
And what about your dad, your father? Would he have enjoyed the book?
Well, Pop and I had a very difficult relationship, although I must say it's much better now that he's dead.
Right. Was he a keen reader, Alan?
Martin, he wasn't.
It's Chris.
The only book I ever saw him read was the history of the decline and fall of the Roman Empire.
By Edward Gibbon, a seminal work.
Yeah, except when I picked it up one day, I found that there was a different book under the dust jacket.
And what was that?
It was The Secret Seven by Blyton, but it was one of the few things that was redeeming about my father. In many ways, he could be a very cruel, messed up guy, but I love the fact that he had this, secret love of looking at books about children.
These people may all look like retired pirates, but in actual fact, they're former Lord Mayors of Norwich. Now, despite the Norfolk blackjack, we're a pretty progressive bunch around here. Take our current Lord Mayor, for example. It may surprise you to learn that he is a woman. We've always believed in giving women a fair crack of the whip. Not literally. That would be a dominatrix, which we also have in Norwich. There are currently 3 of them. Yeah, about 3. A few years ago, in this very building, councillors had to summon up every ounce of their political gumption to save a city that was on the verge of being rent asunder. March 2006, and the council have proposed to extend city centre parking fees to beyond 7 p.m. uproar. The councillors hurtle through these corridors, the air thick with argument and counter-argument, hue and cry. Brouhaha. Some said it's an essential revenue generator. Others said it'll strangle trade. The result? Deadlock. At that point, a rogue Lib Dem proposed a compromise. What if theatres were prepared to subsidise nighttime parking, and those self-same rates were suspended from Monday through Wednesday, resulting in a net gain for the city's midweek economy? And a bloody, or at least irritable clash could be averted. Gentlemen, do we have a deal? Norwich awoke that morning to peace. But it's incredible to think so few people know how close this city came to our blanket imposition of nighttime parking fees. All right. It's a little-known fact that had Hitler successfully invaded, he'd planned to make his victory speech from Norwich City Hall. It's easy to see why. There's a very imposing, brutal quality to the architecture that Hitler would have absolutely loved. But it sends a chill down your spine, even factoring in the cold day. Just imagine. Reverend, there is the rather lazy stereotype of a graveyard as being somewhere that we're familiar with from horror films, where a hand may emerge from a grave and grab the ankle of an innocent student on holiday.
Graveyards are places that are charged with meaning. I mean, I know your parents are both buried here.
Yeah, well, they died, so I buried them.
So, of course, their graves, and all the graves here, they are symbols of a life lived. A collection of memories.
Yeah.
And graves are keepers of stories untold.
Great name for an album, Keepers of Stories Untold. Can I ask you a question? If you were told quite forcefully to draw a soul, what form would it take, do you think? Be a bit quicker. If you don't speed it up, it'll look hard.
Well, the soul is inside us.
I always imagine a soul, strangely, to be like a badly poached egg, so that the yolk, the centre, is intact, but the albumen, the outer soul, if you like, is long and stringy. Another way of looking at it is a very small ballerina with a large lace cloak. Similar thing. Those are two good ones. Do you have any?
I don't know that it's enormously helpful to dwell on the physical.
I agree. I don't dwell on it. I just talk about it sometimes. But it is a lovely, very well maintained graveyard.
Well, I think it's important that we do keep it well maintained. I mean, of course, you know, it's important that the graveyard doesn't become
Quicker.
some kind of shrine for people that have passed on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think a cemetery should be a place of quiet reflection, you know, away from all the hustle and bustle, a haven of tranquility.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Alan.
Okay. Can we tighten that up?